So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where today I just wanted to talk about something I was thinking about the other day, which was how Call of Duty Zombies sort of, as we've progressed throughout the games that we've had, and I'm talking about Treyarch here, so from World at War II, Call of Duty Vanguard, technically BO4 or Cold War really was their last proper game, the one they did themselves, but they also worked on Vanguard Zombies, so we're going to count that. We've had 6 mainline Treyarch Zombies games now, which if you're not too familiar with CoD might not sound a lot, but considering Call of Duty games come out every year, but Treyarch games come out every other year, that gives us a time span of about 13 years, from 2008 World at War to 2021 Vanguard. 13 years is an awful long time. A lot can change then in the video game world. We've gone from World at War on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 at the very beginning of their life cycle, pretty close to the PlayStation 2 days, all the way to Vanguard, which is on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Graphical differences, engines, gameplay, so much has changed, and with change, whatever industry you're in, there are bound to be ups and downs, hiccups, things won't always be perfect. You won't get the best game every single year, and somewhere along the line, 90% of the time, I would say something is bound to go wrong. There is going to be a peak and a downfall. Just before I carry on though, I do want to say that today's video is sponsored by Top 11. Top 11 is a free-to-play football management mobile game available on the Google Play Store, the App Store, Huawei, Microsoft stores, and web browsers. Top 11 is an entire football universe in your pocket where you are in charge of every aspect of your club, from signing a team of superstars to creating your own stadium, your club, your rules. You can team up and play with your friends, win championships, customize your ground, you can collect jerseys and emblems, and lots more. The award-winning Football Manager game has already been played by 260 million players worldwide and has a rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars from more than 5.5 million reviews worldwide. There is currently a brand new limited time event called Penalty Clash. A special PvP event takes place between the 17th and the 26th of November and the 13th to the 18th of December, where you can represent a country and play against other players worldwide. In the Penalty Clash event, you get to be in control of both the penalty taker and the goalkeeper. You can test yourselves on both sides of the ball, shoot penalties to win, and try to save your team from the opponent's penalties. Top the leaderboards by smashing them into the top corner. There are 4 exciting competitions that happen in every Top 11 season, which are the League, the Cup, the Champions League, and the Super League. So there we go. Definitely go ahead and get this for yourself right now. You can do so by clicking the link in the description and give Top 11 and the special event Penalty Clash a try for yourself. So there we go. Go ahead and download it, run your own football club, and top the leaderboards. Anyway, let's continue on with today's video. So like I was saying, what I kind of wanted to title this one today was how CoD Zombies slowly killed itself. And I say slowly because it really has been a slow process. 13 years of a singular mode within a bigger title, a mode that in one way hasn't always been what it is today. When you think of CoD Zombies, you think of its own thing. It is a third mode. At one point in time, it was as big as the multiplayer or the campaign. That point in time, I believe, being Black Ops 4 when Treyarch and Activision marketed it a lot more than they did any other portion of that game. That for me, in terms of how wide scale it was the peak. A lot of people would say Black Ops 3 Zombies because to most that's considered the best. Some would say maybe Black Ops 2 or BO1. That's all just preference. But in terms of scale, I would say it was Black Ops 4, but we look at the games that came after that, Cold War and Vanguard, and they definitely weren't as big, which tells us somewhere along the line, something went wrong. This mode didn't carry on this upwards trajectory that had been on since 2008, and eventually reaching 2021, it wasn't where it should have been, which tells us something went wrong, but where? Now, if we look at the very beginning, World at War, it's pretty obvious to see what Zombies was. I've said this plenty of times in loads of different videos. It was an experiment. It wasn't supposed to exist. There were no expectations, so really, it was impossible to fail. If you brought Call of Duty World at War back on day one, you wouldn't have even known that zombies existed in this game. There was zero marketing for it. Activision, the publishers, didn't want this mode in a serious World War II shooter. Treyarch did, or at least most of the developers, but no one was sure where it was going to go. Would a fictional zombies mode be suitable for a serious World War II shooter, which at that time it was. And if you think about 2008, that was the era of World War II shooters. We had Medal of Honor, Brothers in Arms. Those I would say were the 2 competing franchises with Call of Duty, and also compared to how big Call of Duty is nowadays, there was more of a level playing field then. Medal of Honor especially was on a similar level to CoD, perhaps just a bit smaller, but at one point it was above. So CoD was still competing for that #1 spot, meaning they didn't really have the flexibility to experiment like this. If it went wrong and the consumers saw that this wasn't the game they wanted, they didn't want zombies in a World War II game, if things didn't go as well as they did, then maybe CoD wouldn't be where it is today. But thankfully, they did. However, nobody knew that, and so Zombies wasn't advertised, meaning there was really no room for failure. If you didn't like it, well, you could just play the multiplayer because that's all you thought you were going to be getting anyway, and if you did like it, great, you had some additional content, and everyone did like it. So much that we had Zombies return in Treyarch's next game a year later, or 2 years later in 2010, which was Black Ops 1. I would say, if I had to describe every iteration of Treyarch Zombies modes in each game, World at War I would say was fresh, innovative, an experiment, and Black Ops 1 I would describe as rock and roll. And the studio kind of described themselves as that as well. For BO1 they kind of had the attitude of, you know what, we're just going to do what we want. And you could tell that from the game, that definitely came through. The maps that we had on this game, Kino der Toten, Call of the Dead, 5, Ascension, Shangri-La, Moon. If you compare all of these to the maps that we got in World at War, these were very rock and roll. They were out of the ordinary, weird, wacky. World at War's maps were more comparable to multiplayer maps, but Black Ops 1's, when you look at Shangri-La especially, or Call of the Dead and Moon, they were very out there. If Treyarch wanted to keep zombies more in line with realism in World at War, that definitely isn't what they did in Black Ops 1, because going to a jungle in the Himalayas or a base on the Moon, I would say even to this day, Moon might be the most out there map that we've ever had. Yeah, everything from BO1 Zombies, in my opinion, fits what Treyarch were trying to do with this game, and it was definitely an improvement on World at War. Then a couple of years later we had Black Ops 2. The word I've given to describe this game is defined. World at War started off the Zombies mode. Black Ops 1 they wanted to see where they could take it, what they could do with it, and once they'd figured out that formula, in Black Ops 2, Treyarch's job was to now define this mode. Make it not official because it already was, but finally put their stamp on it and say, look, this is now an important part of our games. We've created this world, we've started this, and now we're going to cement it. From a cooperative and perhaps even a solo point of view, this might be one of my most played games ever, just because it was the most diverse experience to date. We weren't only given new maps, which we expected, but new modes such as Grief, Turned. We were given a new set of characters, which were different from Ultimus, which we'd had since World at War, and the very first map on disc, Transit, even though you might not like it, was ambitious. Treyarch themselves have admitted that, okay, perhaps Transit didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, and that's down to a lot of things. The fact that at the time this game released on the Xbox 360, if it came out on the PlayStation 4 or the Series 1 where they had more opportunity, perhaps it would have been different, but because of the limited capability of those consoles and time restraints, and I suppose ambition as well, Transit just wasn't what Treyarch really wanted it to be. But you could definitely see where they were going, and then the maps that we had from them after that, Die Rise, Mob of the Dead, an instant classic, Origins, Buried, going from Black Ops 1 to BO2, we've gone up yet another level. And that then takes us to what most people would say is the best game in the series, Black Ops 3 Zombies. There's not too much I need to say about this game, just because everyone knows. The word I've given to describe it is ambition. Some of the greatest maps in history. For me, the smoothest and best gameplay we've had. The Easter eggs, let's not forget Zombies Chronicles, the storyline. There is way too much in this game to talk about in this video, and because of that, it is still considered the best. So obviously, at this point, Zombies was still on the up, but that could have something to do with what happened next with Black Ops 4, because if you look at everything this game had, the biggest launch to date for Zombies maps on day one, we'd never seen this before. We'd never seen this amount of advertising for Zombies. It's funny going from World at War where they didn't want to advertise Zombies at all to Black Ops 4 where they wanted it to be the main focus of the game, and perhaps that's where it failed. Did they promise too much? The community's expectations were so high, and I don't think that's down to us, and I'm not even blaming the developers or Activision. I think it's just down to what we'd seen previously, going to new heights in each and every Zombies iteration. When we finally got to Black Ops 4, the game released, a lot of people would argue that half of the maps on day one, mainly Voyage of Despair and Blood of the Dead, although I quite like that map, weren't very good. The amount of bugs and crashes there were, the blue screens, definitely put a damper on things, and then as we went on through the season and we got the maps, they didn't live up to expectation. That one could be put on Treyarch or Activision, but overall, I don't think Black Ops 4 was a level up on BO3, and that's nobody's fault. Zombies was leveling up every single game, and inevitably, things had to slow down. And that's also what happens for most game series or movies. If you think of, I don't know, Friday the 13th or the Conjuring series, the Marvel films, the more you have, eventually, somewhere along the line, you're gonna hit a stalemate, and for some time at least, the products that you release just aren't going to be as good. There are many reasons as to why that is, but Black Ops 4 I think suffered from that. It suffered from the past games being so good and being better than one another that unfortunately for Black Ops 4, it just couldn't beat BO3. If BO4 came out before BO3 and then Black Ops 3 came out at the time of BO4, then it might be different, but because of the way these games released, that's not the case. And this, like most instances, is the point where Zombies started to go downhill. BO4 wasn't as good as BO3, and by the way, the words I would use to describe this game was they tried too hard. And then after that we had Cold War, which I don't think was as good as BO4, although a lot of people would argue it's on the same level or better. Just from my personal opinion, I don't quite think it is, and purely my reasoning for that is the words I've used to describe Cold War, which was time struck. They just didn't have enough time. If they did, I have no doubt that Cold War could have potentially been one of the best Zombies games in the series, but for me it wasn't. And then after that we had Vanguard Zombies. I don't need to say too much about that game. My word to describe it I've put down as suffering. Similar to Cold War, Treyarch didn't have enough time to work on it, so it's difficult to judge, but that doesn't mean I can lie and say it's better than Cold War or BO4. So since Black Ops 4, I think Zombies has been on a slow downward spiral, which was always inevitable. If you're going to release this many games in a series, somewhere along the line you're going to hit a brick wall and end up going downhill. I think that's a little bit down to Treyarch, a lot down to Activision, a little bit down to us the fans, and also a bit of its own doing as well. However, as with any chart, it goes up, down, up, down. At the moment we are going down, but when that happens, eventually you're going to go up. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.